Also directed such movies as Break Up as it heads to warmer waters. The Coast Guard's hoping to find two people who disappeared when their twin-engine plane went down off the Bahamian coast Tuesday. The couple's feared dead. Earlier Thursday, the Coast Guard rescued 3 survivors of the crash. They're hospitalized in Miami. The pilot reportedly made an emergency landing at sea after both the engines failed. One survivor said he was forced to separate from the others when he saw sharks.
Ira Bloom, good buddy of mine, he was evidently taking in a lot of salt water, and he just lost control, took off his life vest, sank to the bottom. I went down, pulled him back up, put him in the vest, tried mouth to mouth, pounded on his heart, but by this time he was totally white.
The plane was headed to Fort Lauderdale from the Bahamas when it crashed. On December 15th, the Snake River sockeye salmon will officially be listed as an endangered species. That moves to save the species from extinction, but it will...
Caribbean water. 2 others are missing. They're feared dead. It began when a small plane from the Bahamas lost power over open water. The Coast Guard plucked the pilot of the aircraft from the water, where he had been for 2 days. Later, a 35-year-old passenger was rescued by a commercial tugboat. A 58-year-old passenger was also rescued. He is in critical condition. A couple, listed in their mid-50s, are missing. They are feared dead.
We will check on the weather now, and here is Karen McGinnis in Atlanta. Karen?
Gene, things are...
Ever wonder what an asteroid looks like close up? If so, what follows is for you. It comes from NASA and its Galileo spacecraft, which snapped the black and white photo on its way to the planet Jupiter. The asteroid is World News. Thanks for being with us. I'm Gene Randall in Washington. Good night, Susan.
Good night, Gene. From CNN Center in Atlanta, I'm Susan Rooks. Sports tonight.
The Coast Guard is hoping to find 2 people who disappeared when their twin-engine plane went down off the Bahamian coast Tuesday. The couple's feared dead. Earlier today, the Coast Guard rescued 3 survivors of the crash. They're hospitalized in Miami. The pilot reportedly made an emergency landing at sea after both the plane's engines failed. One survivor said he was forced to separate from the others when he saw sharks.
And when I saw the shark, I said, I gotta let Ira go because I'm getting tired. And so he dropped, and we never saw the shark after that.
The plane was headed to Fort Lauderdale from the Bahamas when it crashed. One of nature's wonders is proving to be a source of awe and concern. Soviet cosmonauts on board the space station Mir have taken spectacular pictures of a gigantic iceberg in the South Atlantic. But the berg may also pose a danger to ships. Richard Vaughn explains.
The giant iceberg has given the Soviet cosmonauts aboard the Mir space station an unusual and spectacular sight. From thousands of miles above the South Atlantic Ocean, it looks like an island. The gigantic iceberg, which broke off from the Antarctic continent in August, is 55 miles long and 35 miles wide, and it rises 200 feet above the water. It's also home to thousands of penguins.
They're alive and recovering after a dramatic rescue at sea. A tugboat and 2 Coast Guard helicopters pulled 3 Florida men from tropical waters.
The gigantic iceberg, which broke off from the Antarctic continent in August, is 55 miles long and 35 miles wide, and it rises 200 feet above the water. It's also home to thousands of penguins. The Soviet photographs are the first to give a true overall...
Wednesday. A pilot and 2 passengers are alive and recovering after a dramatic rescue at sea. A tugboat and 2 Coast Guard helicopters pulled 3 Florida men from tropical waters off the Bahamas Thursday. They'd floated nearly 40 hours after engine trouble forced them to make a sea landing. 2 women and a pet dog still are missing and feared drowned. The plane apparently didn't have life jackets for all the passengers. The official U.S. definition of AIDS may change. The Center for Disease Control is proposing AIDS cases be based on severe immune system attacks. Up to now,